Hey everybody, welcome back to BigRedEDC. Well, alright, we're going to start digging into the knives that were sent to us from our good buddy Rusty Knife Lover. Rusty has been a very huge supporter of the channel for quite some time now, and he is a member of Big Red's Brigade, so thank you so much for that, Rusty. And of course, all these knives. Now you guys have probably seen a review on, I think, most of the knives that Rusty sent from our buddy KC over at Knives Fast. Well, now it's my turn to give you my thoughts on it. And I tell you what, I'm starting out with this guy. This is the Sandrin Knives Torino. No, I'm not starting with this one because it's red. Well, maybe. It could be. But I tell you what, this little knife really is, it's fascinating to me, and it's just a really cool little knife. Now, we're going to start out as always. You've got the red G10 scales. They're milled on the outside, which is very interesting to me. For one, you got some good weight reduction, and this is a light little knife. Maybe not quite bug out light, but it's pretty darn light. I mean, you can tell it's thin. Yeah. You've got the titanium pocket clip there, and it is reversible, so that's good news. So to me, this is a truly ambidextrous knife. You've got thumb studs on both sides, and this recoil lock can pretty much be operated with either hand. So it's pretty much a truly ambidextrous knife, which is very cool. Like I said, you do have milled out spaces for the pocket clip. Now, it is a single screw pocket clip. It is recessed screw, as a matter of fact, and there is a recess for the pocket clip as well. I recently had a conversation, can't remember who that was with. Oh, I think it was Casey that was talking about. And, you know, sometimes single screw pocket clips have, you know, they can work their way loose, especially if they're not recessed like this. But this pretty much takes care of that for the most part, and it really reduces any side-to-side movement that you could get on a single screw pocket clip, and I like that. I personally prefer two screws in my pocket clip just to for extra protection, I guess you could say, extra support. But this one really solid little clip. Pretty cool too. Different. It's a little might be a little big for the knife. I mean, it's kind of long, but I mean, wasn't an issue for me, and it is pretty deep carry for sure. Now, we talked about this guy. This is a recoil lock. Now, it's another kind of spring actuated lock, and we're going to see that a little bit more here when we actually open the knife up. Like I said, dual thumb studs. That's a thin blade. Oh my goodness, that's a thin blade. Now you can see the tolerances are pretty tight on this knife, and it is very well centered. Dual thumb studs. The first time I flipped it out, I thought it was assisted. It's not. It just really rockets out there. Now, this is kind of the thing that really, this tungsten carbide blade. This is really the first time I think it's the first time I may have used a tungsten carbide blade, especially, well, in an application of a knife for sure. Very cool. There you go. You got the Sandrin Knives logo right there. Now, you do kind of have that working type finish on this too. I know we talked about that on the ZT, and some of you said, you know, it was okay, it wasn't okay. It was kind of mixed. But this one definitely has some really pronounced kind of grind marks in it. And now, this is not a brand new knife out of the box, so, you know, some of these marks could obviously be from Rusty and his use and that type of thing. But, you know, I kind of like the way it looks. A finish like this, you know, there's no reason, you know, oh, the knife's so pretty. Yeah, it's still pretty. I think it's pretty with with the grind marks in there, to be perfectly honest with you. It gives it character. It makes it cool for me. I don't know, but it just does. And it definitely would not give me fear to use it, of course, marring up the blade. Now, I like to keep my knives looking nice, but, you know, if the blade gets marked up, it gets marked up. Now, the crazy thing about this blade, well, one, you've got a nice little sharpening choil there, for sure. Guys, this thing is 1.2 millimeters at the spine. That is a thin knife, but It's tungsten carbide, guys. HRC of 71 on this thing. I was kind of reading up on Sandrin and Sandrin knives, and they have really, really strived to basically make one of the toughest knife blades on the market. That's kind of their thing. And without being brittle. That's the one thing, it can't be brittle. And I tell you what, this this knife is sharp. It's not, well, let me see here. Will it still pop hairs? Yes. Focusing on that. Yep, there's a bald spot right there. And it definitely still shaves. Now, Rusty said he hasn't done anything as far as sharpening to the knife. He's never sharpened it. As far as I know, KC said he didn't do anything. And I'm pretty sure they were at Kyle, too. Kyle, D2M Knives and Gear. Pretty sure he didn't do anything. And this thing, Rusty told me he's cut some stuff. Kyle, KC, and me, I have done some stuff with it. And this thing is still shaving sharp. That, to me, that's awesome. Now, I haven't really, done a lot with Maximate and LMAX and all that good stuff. All those steels, super steels. I just finally got the Wingman EDC, and that's LMAX, so that's my first delve into LMAX. But man, this tungsten carbide, really, really cool. I'm just digging this little guy. All right, let's get some size comparisons. Obviously, it's going to be a lot smaller than our PM2. It's a pretty small knife. There's really no comparison there. PM2 is much larger. More towards the size of the bug out. The bug out's going to have it a little bit on the blade and a hair, about a 1/4 inch on the handle and roughly about a 1/4 inch on the blade as well. So it definitely is a smaller knife. Let's see. Oh, I know a small knife we can compare it to. Let's get our little 1929 out. We'll get the Cocobolo wood out. Now, all right, we found a knife that it's bigger than. There we go. So it is a little bit bigger than the 1929, but about a 1/2 inch on the handle and pretty close to that on the blade almost. So overall, what are we looking at? We have got a knife here that is roughly about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, almost 7 inches, 6 and 7/8. They say 7 inches, so all right, I guess we'll give it to them 7 inches. I get just short 4-inch handle, 3-inch blade, and then your cutting edge is going to be about 2 1/4 inches. Now, for my application, that's the one thing that I did find a little bit harder, because in the cutting rope and stuff. Now, this thing is sharp, and it did a pretty darn good job. But I got up into some 1/2 inch rope, but it was still going through it without much issue. But it is a little bit on the shorter. So there you go. Your 3-inch blade limit, you're good. You're way good with this one. So, let's see. We did our size comparisons. Weight. That's what we're going to look at. Let's talk about the lock real quick since I have it in hand. So the recoil lock. So the whole thing with the recoil lock, it's basically kind of a spring actuated lock. The recoil, you pull back and it drops. You've got some jimping there on the lock bar to help you get a grip on it. Now, then again, I did forget to mention you've got some jimping on the blade as well. And with a thin blade, that jimping up there could potentially be an issue. I know I'm kind of jumping ahead, but no, not at all. That jimping is done absolutely fantastic for me. It grabs my thumb. My thumb is not going anywhere, and it's not uncomfortable or anything like that. And using it, I did some cuts like this on some rope. Not an issue. But back to that recoil lock. This thing is drop shutty. The first time I shut it, I'm like, okay, okay, cool. And I did this, and it was like, ah! I mean, it came all the way back to the handle. And for a minute, I was like, okay, my fingers were out of the way. Okay, good. Yeah. I mean, guys, come on. That was me. Look at this thing. Hold that lock back. This action is freaking nuts. It is awesome. This thing is so well built. Now, Sandrin knives, built in Italy. And I had the maker here, and you know what? I need to give this gentleman props for his design. Oh, I want to make sure I get his name correctly. I got to bring it up here. Alessandro Colombato is the designer of this knife. I have to give him props because this knife is very well designed and extremely well built, in my opinion. So, all right, wait, here we go. What do you guys think? Take a wild guess. Don't cheat. We'll start in grams. 66 grams. Do the quick conversion in your mind. 2.3 ounces. And our bug out is 1.8. So it's a little smaller in the bug out, but it is a little bit heavier. Guys, and this knife is not even remotely heavy for its size. I'll be perfectly honest with you. It is a fantastic carry. It disappears in the pocket. It's so slim. It's really cool. Good retention on that pocket clip. No issues in and out of the pocket. It looks like it might be because there's not a lot of clearance, but there's a good ramp. Yeah, it's a really, really good pocket clip. All right, so what do I think? Guys, I'm super impressed with this knife. I really, really am. I'm very, very impressed with it. I love the fact that the recoil lock keeps my fingers out of the cutting path when I want to close it. I mean, this is the best way to close it probably, and then like so. Because if you get kind of careless like me and you're like, okay, whack, and all of a sudden the tip of your finger, because it's, it's a smaller knife, so you really got to be careful. So that's probably the best way to close it. I mean, really the safest. And I did take this to work. I give it to my guys at work that do do handle and light knives. Both of them were just fawning over this knife. They both thought it was pretty cool. But I did tell them about the recoil lock and how bad it dropped before I gave it to them. I had to, or else we probably would have seen blood. But, yeah, $200. This knife sells for $200. And I know you're probably like, that's a lot of money for a small knife. I won't disagree with you. It is. But man, that tungsten carbide blade and the way this knife is built, I'm telling you guys, wow. Yeah. So obviously that's a decision, you're going to have to make for yourself. And I totally understand that. Blues Review Crew. I tell you what, guys, with the exception of price, we're giving this a 9. It's just a fantastic knife. It really is. I am super, super impressed with this knife. Now, there's one tiny thing, tiny nitpick I'm going to have with this knife. And that's right in here. And this is so much of a nitpick. At one point, that's a little, that point right there, it kind of got me once. Now, is it easily fixed? Yeah, a little heavy grits or fine grit sandpaper, and you just wish, okay, it's probably good. Guys, that is the only nitpick I could really find with this knife. I'll be perfectly honest with you. In my mind, in my opinion, that is really the only detractor. And if that's the case, it's a truly ambidextrous knife. It's got an amazing blade on it. The tolerances are so well done. I mean, yeah, it has to be. I'm surprised I didn't call it a 9.5, to be perfectly honest with you. For me, it's that good. It really is. Yeah, price, okay, I get that. I get it with the price. But take everything into consideration. Yeah. So there'll be links down in the description if y'all want to check it out for sure, as there always are. Rusty, thank you so very much for giving me pretty much all it is. It's my first taste of Sandrin knives. I love this little knife. It's absolutely fantastic. You're fantastic for letting me take a look at it, my friend. And all of you are as well for stopping by and checking it out with me. As always, guys, like, subscribe, leave me that comment. You know I love talking to you. Until next time, I'll talk to y'all later, guys. Bye-bye.